So we're hard on the brakes for turn 10A at Road Atlanta. It's a hard left-hander, onto the throttle, turn left, turn right, come up the hill, check the corner worker. Everything's fine, stay on it. And this is when the furry critter knew it up. Welcome to Maintainer's Garage. I'm Bags. What we just saw in that video was I was at Road Atlanta a few weeks back and encountered a furry woodland creature. Now let's go ahead and put it out there, because we're positive and happy and go lucky. We try to be. The furry woodland creature made it. I'm not sure if it was a beaver or a groundhog. It was big and it wasn't supposed to be in the middle of a track, but I didn't hit it. The car behind me didn't hit it. And when I came around every lap after that, there was no red marks all over the track, so no one hit it. It survived the encounter. I survived the encounter. We both scared the you-know-what out of each other, and we went on about our day. Why are we talking about this? I made a mistake. Actually, let's just be clear, I made a whole bunch of mistakes that weekend on the track. This one was a great learning experience. I like sharing these kind of mistakes because it didn't cost me anything, and they're good learning tools. They're good learning tools for me. That's kind of why I've set up these video cameras and this data logging equipment in my car when I do track days, so I can go back and look at it after the fact and learn from it, hopefully, and hopefully not repeat the same mistakes. Before I get too much into this, let me go ahead and just say, I am not a driving instructor. I'm not a driving coach. I'm not a professional race car driver. I'm not even a professional driver. I do HPDE events and open track days. If you want to know about HPDEs, I'll throw a link right there. And I've been doing it about 10 years, just to be 100% clear, not to try to mislead anybody or anything like that. I'm either in a blue group or white group, intermediate 1 or intermediate 2, depending on the track. All the tracks I've done are Road Atlanta, Atlanta Motorsports Park, Roebling Road Raceway, Talladega Grand Prix, which is a small track over in Alabama, not to be confused with the big one there, which I haven't done, Nashville Super Speedway, and Carolina Motorsports Park. And I did one lap of America a few years ago and did some tracks around the country with that. All that to say, again, not a professional, no driving instruction. I'm not a driving instructor. I'm just a guy that got about 10 years, 30 events under my belt, and for the most part, I know what I should be doing, and I know, what should be happening. I just have I don't always have the ability to execute it. I'm in the wrong place a lot of times, and I'm doing things that's like, I wish I wouldn't have done that. But we can still learn from this. That's how you improve. That's how you get better. It's very hard to unlearn natural behavior. Your finger gets pinched in something and it hurts. Your natural reaction is to pull it back. Like if you touch a hot stove, pull back. Well, if your finger's pinched bad enough, if you pull back hard enough, you'll actually do more damage. You'll actually hurt yourself more than if you just leave your finger there and then undo the thing and then pull your finger out. It's much like when you're driving and you see something in the road. A lot of times our natural reaction is to hit the brake or swerve. Those are the behaviors that are hardest to change because there are natural instincts. So you have to work really hard to change your natural reaction to something. When I saw this furry woodland creature, my natural reaction was to hit the brake, and that was the wrong thing to do. Luckily, it didn't cost me anything. I didn't do any harm to myself, my car, the car behind me, or anything like that. But that's why I'm still talking about it. Now, I'll show you the in-car video and just show you, as I came up to the hill, where I was and all that. But this is at Road Atlanta. It's turn 11. It's at the top of a very steep hill. You can't see on the other side of the hill. There's a corner worker there. There are corner workers in tracks all over the world. Their job is to communicate to you. They're your eyes where you can't see. So that's as you come up to blind turns, you look at your corner worker to understand that, hey, is there something more I need to be aware of? Is there a reason I need to be slowing down? Should I be doing something differently? And if they're not doing anything, if they're just standing there looking at you, then life is good and you can proceed as normal. So as I came up to the top of the hill, the corner worker wasn't doing anything. Well, not his fault. This freaking furry woodland creature ran out about the time I got there. So the corner worker never saw him because he wasn't there when he was supposed to communicate something to me. And I had a quick split-second decision. I either run the furry woodland creature over or I don't. My decision to not run him over was basically made for one reason and one reason only. His size. Her size, its size, whatever. In that split-second decision to not hit it, it was, how big is it? It looked big enough to where if I hit it, it possibly could have caused me to wreck or crash. I know that's kind of odd, saying like, oh man, you could just run that thing over. If you hit something large enough, it can upset the car and, you know, you could skid, spin. So I had a split second to whether to hit the thing or not. In that split second, in my mind, it said it was too big to hit. If it had been a squirrel, I never would have lifted my foot off the accelerator. So that first decision I made of not to hit that woodland creature was fine, no problem. The next decision I made was my first of two mistakes. The next decision I made was to let off the throttle. Why is that a mistake? Turn 11, big hill, steep hill. What happens naturally when you crest a hill is as you come over the hill, the car unloads the suspension, so the car raises up and then it settles back down. Now this is exaggerated obviously in my hand, but trying to give a visual. As I came to the top of this hill and I saw this furry woodland creature, my car was already naturally unloading the suspension. Me letting off the gas unloaded the suspension even more. That was my first mistake. The next mistake I made was I tapped the brake. So the car is on top of the hill, suspension unloaded naturally. I let off the gas, it's unloaded a little more. I've tapped the brake, which is now transitioned weight forward and gotten the back end light. That was the second bad decision I made. Luckily for me, that decision wasn't costly because of what happened 5 seconds before this. As you come out of turn 10B, you should set yourself up for turn 11 at Road Atlanta. That's under the bridge. On the side of the bridge, there's a board with colors painted on it. I try personally to aim for the red block on this, and I'll show you this on the video. It'll be very clear. Why? Because when I aim for the red block, and the goal is for basically me to drive under, me as the driver of the vehicle to go under the red block. As you come over the hill, crest the hill, go over the hill, and you come down, you have to take the next right-hand turn, which is turn 12. Being under that red block means the steering wheel's almost perfectly straight. So as you come over, crest the hill, come over and go down, you can maintain throttle, maintain almost to zero steering angle. It's about like that. Why does that matter? That means my front wheels are barely turned, just slightly turned. So as I go over the hill and go down, I don't need to do any steering input. Why does that matter? This is one of the reasons that my problem didn't become more of a problem, because my front wheels were basically straight. So when I tapped the brake, there wasn't a lot of bite there if they'd have been like this, because then that would have pitched the car and the back end would have automatically pitched in the direction the wheels were turned. If they were turned this way, it would have pitched this way. The whole car would have pitched. Because the car was basically straight, so when the car pitched, all it pitched was forward. There was no side to side pitching. That was a fortunate thing that I did. The second thing that, and this is just happenstance, this happened on my first lap of, I believe, my second or third session of the day. Why does that matter? When I go out on beginning of every session, that first lap for me is a warm-up lap. I go out at about 70% and work my way up, and sometimes it takes me more than a lap. So it might take a lap and a half. What does that mean, big picture? At the top of the hill, I was going about 10 miles an hour slower than I would normally go. What does that mean? That means my margin for error, instead of, for example, being this, because I went 10 miles an hour slower, my margin of error was this. So not only were my wheels straight, I wasn't going as fast as I normally would. So those two things help not make my two other mistakes worse. So I did two good things and I did two bad things. Luckily, it all worked out. And as soon as I lifted off the gas and tapped the brake, in that instant, I realized I made a mistake. And I'm really happy about that. I was happy about it on the track. I'm still happy about it now. Yeah, I made a mistake, but when you, I know it's after the fact, but knowing when you make mistakes super quick, that's the first, to me, that's the first step in really changing your behavior. Going back to the whole pull your finger out of a vice thing. When I realized that, I was very happy. And I got back on, I started putting steering input into the car to steer around the furry creature, and I started putting throttle down. All of that helped to contribute to this just being a non-event, a near miss, as they say. You know, that's why I'm talking to you about this. That's why I'm sharing my experience. I want someone, if they happen to, you know, do track events, to watch this video and be like, oh yeah, I could see where, you know, I could possibly do that. I need to remember not to do that, because you got to unlearn this behavior. You've got to change your natural reaction. And this stuff doesn't just apply to the track. All track driving applies to the street. You learn a lot of stuff. It's not just about going fast. It's about paying attention to those corner workers, looking ahead and understanding steering inputs and understanding what braking and throttle do in certain areas. And it's a great teacher of a lot of things. It's a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. I ain't talking about it. I'm not trying to say it's, you know, it's just, yes, no, it's fun, it's wild, it's adrenaline rush, but there's a lot to take away from it more than that. Here we are. We'll start the video here in a second. Just wanted to give you some context here. Right there's the corner worker. You'll see them shortly as I go forward, but there's our 3 color blocks. And like I said, we aim for that red one right there. So we'll start the video. And you can see I'm aiming right at the color block, and now you can clearly see the corner worker, and they're sitting down doing their job. Nothing is on the track that is a concern to me. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. No fault there. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. What's going to happen is, this is my G meter. When I tap the brakes, that's going to spike up. The throttle on this data collection, between 20 and 22% sometimes is zero throttle. So when that spikes up, you'll see I'm at I think it's 21% throttle. And here we go. And we're going under, we're going under. We're going to see the little guy right now, and boom. So 21% throttle, we've got a spike. I've seen him. I've reacted with my letting off the accelerator and touching the brake pedal. As we continue going forward, you'll see that comes down, goes back up, but I've also put in throttle. And I did miss him, I promise. And it just happened that fast. So hopefully this video helps you, and maybe even get a little laugh out of it. Thanks for watching Maintainer's Garage. Have a great day.